To have Anil Gaur, Director of Infrastructure, Meritor. He is an accomplished software professional having more than 22 years of experience in managing infrastructure, platforms, applications. He has led the digital transformation in Meritor by migrating the complete data center and the mission critical workloads to Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Welcome, Anil. Thank you, and very glad to have you on the show. And Anil, congratulations on your cloud journey and the great success in data center transformation to Oracle Cloud at Meritor.
Thank you, Srini. Thank you for having me for this summit.
Anil, can you talk about what makes Meritor unique and what are some of the new transformational initiatives that's going on in your business?
So the way Meritor is unique is because of our environment. It's a very complex environment because it built over almost 100 years of legacy that we have. So we have systems that are very old and they're phasing, and then we have the systems that are very, very new, born in the cloud. So it's a mixture of all these, and the interdependency of each other makes our environment very unique and very complex. And the new initiatives that are going on right now are the smart factory or the Industry 4.0 IoT initiatives. We're doing a lot of like the data lake and data warehousing initiatives. So we're trying to make our factories as much automated as possible, and also trying to gather as much information as we can to make right decisions for the right productivity.
The three key imperatives for organizations to migrate applications to cloud are: one, innovation-led to ensure business is ahead of the competition; second, business-led to become cloud first to engage with consumers; and third, consolidation-led to easily consolidate and divest to reduce costs. What were your business and IT imperatives at Meritor for your cloud transformation?
So we are doing a mixture of all of three imperatives that you mentioned. So we are definitely being on the innovative edge in terms of all of our products. We're going towards the innovation, making them digitally enabled. We're also consolidating a lot in terms of reducing our footprint, making it more efficient, and at the end, making it more cost effective. Our key requirements that we're meeting out of doing the migration is, number one is to reduce the cost, and number two is to make the environment more efficient and more agile, so that we can deliver to the business on demand without delaying on the infrastructure side. So we are looking at making this environment so agile that we can almost create the environment overnight and then get rid of it when we don't need it. So that way we can save the money.
Anil, I'm aware that it was tough to make the decision to move from IBM data center to cloud infra. Now, you have been right in the center of making the decision. How were you able to make that decision? Most leaders struggle to make a massive cultural change in IT to align to this whole new world of infrastructure on cloud that no one has embarked before.
So there are two things that go, and you're right. We moved from a traditional brick and mortar data center to a completely cloud environment. And there are two elements that go into that. The one element is your technology. That means all of your systems, your applications, your servers, are they going to be able to survive in the cloud environment? Are they going to be able to serve the purpose in the cloud environment? Are they going to operate? And the second part is the people or the resource side, where joined together with your processes and your people, are you equipped for a drastic change in the support model, and also in the way you maintain these, and you monitor these, and the way you work through those? And it requires to be prepared on both sides. So from on the system side, we have started doing this about 6 to 7 years ago, where we have started to virtualize everything and containerize everything. We went towards standardizing the operating system, standardizing the hardware. So we went from almost 30 to 40 different types of servers into two types of servers. And we went from so many operating systems into two operating systems. And that all happened behind the scenes much before we were ready to get into the cloud. And therefore, the migration to cloud was very easy. It was a simple lift and shift operation from the technical perspective. Um, and that enabled us to be able to survive in the cloud very well. And we didn't face any issues, as you know, after we went live. It was all very nicely received by the business. Nobody noticed that we changed our environment from a brick and mortar to the cloud. In fact, they noticed it to see that it is performing much better and much faster. On the people side, we were also prepared to to take over this new arrangement, or the new generation of support. We know that there are going to be requirements from Oracle side when they will take the applications down during the maintenance. There is a difference in how you do the backup. There is a difference in how you do the DR. There is a difference in how you do the monitoring and patching and things like that. So it was all planned. And then I think once you understand what you're going into, you were able to do that with no issues. And that's what happened in our case.
You have to make the decisions on which cloud would fit right for Meritor. Given the IT application landscape, is it OCI, AWS, Azure, etc.? How did you make the decision? And what are the top 3 factors that helped you in your decision?
So you're right. We have so many clouds to choose from. The journey of our decision based on the key elements. Number one was the the relevance or the compatibility. As you know, that majority of our applications are the Oracle applications. So we run EBS, we run VCP, we run OTM, we run Hyperion, we run PeopleSoft. So we run JD Edwards. So we are pretty much by and large an Oracle shop. So about 60 to 70% of our application suite is Oracle. So we thought it would be natural choice to go into Oracle because of um, the compatibility of the applications. The second factor was the bare metal capability. So we have some of our applications, they are legacy, they don't have support anymore, and they cannot be ported onto the new environment. They have to run on bare metal by itself. And Oracle was the only cloud at the time when we evaluated that was offering a bare metal capability, that you could do a bare metal on demand and then you go from there. So that was the second reason. And the third reason, obviously, was a very, very important one, was the cost. We got the cost benefit from Oracle Cloud and the deal that was structured, which was much better than we could get from the other clouds. So those were the 3 major factors that kind of helped us to lean towards Oracle in this case.
Cloud migration has certain speed bumps along the way. Especially if the hardware and operating systems are legacy and de-supported like Solaris, that requires cross-platform migration, as well as application and database versions have limited support. What parameters did you consider in your cloud migration strategy? What is your advice on cloud operations, security, and cost management, specifically before, during, and after migration to cloud?
So you're right. We did do for a lot of our main core applications like Oracle EVS and VCP and other applications, PeopleSoft. We were running on Solaris before, and it was difficult to migrate into Linux because it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of testing to do that. While we migrated everything, including the Solaris applications, and then there are some applications, as I was talking about, that have to be containerized in the sense like they cannot be upgraded in the operating system or from the application version level. They have to be lifted and shifted as is in the form of an image to install it on the other side. And then there is a bunch of applications that can be upgraded. So it was a combination of everything. As far as the overall migration approach was, the first thing I think if you are looking at moving to cloud, the first thing you need to do is to take your time to design the environment from the security perspective. Like, do you want to have, how many zones do you want to have? Do you want to have secure zone or the trusted zone? And then you want to have a semi-trusted zone? Do you want to have an untrusted zone? Similarly, do you want to separate your test and development from production? Do you want to separate your disaster recovery from production in terms of the zoning of the network? And we did all of that, and then define the rules that allow the applications to interact across these zones, and then make sure that you have enough redundancy built into the cloud in addition to security. So if there is a failure of one availability domain, how are you going to sustain from that perspective? So with all of this, and where are you going to get your internet connection from? Where are you going to set your firewalls? Do you have any requirement that needs you to have a physical data center like a co-location or something, where sometimes, like, we do have a regulatory requirement which required us to have some of our servers in Equinix. So that adds another zone or another complexity to the environment. So you need to think about how are you going to allow the firewall access into all of your environment? How are you going to allow the internet access to all these servers, including your core servers in the trusted zone for patching and for other things? So, and then there are sometimes there is internet access required for the regular usage. Some of the devices may need to access the shared storage or the object storage. How are you going to allow access to that? So all those things need to be considered, and it is a good idea to put all of that into the same page, and then try to draw the diagrams that help you at a very high level on how are you going to structure this. And then, you know, once you have that, implementing that becomes much easier. Finding out these things as an afterthought after you have gone ahead with the implementation, it causes a mess in the environment. It causes an insecure and a very complex environment, which can be avoided if you are planning upfront. And SuneraTech did a great job in helping us planning and in providing the resources that facilitated not only the discussion, but also the expertise to guide us through the process and make sure that we do the right design to start with. The second part of that is the testing. So when you're doing a cross-platform migration, like from Solaris to Linux, or we move to the Exadata and Exa's cloud services in this case, you have to allow enough time to test. And once you do that, do not rush on testing. And once your testing is good, then you know you can move without any issues. And we go from there. Another word of caution that we learned the hard way is that environment like XRCS, you know, they keep changing that image on a regular basis, as you would expect. And you generally have a, like we did, we created the test and development system for our testing, actually, or to be production system. early in the game, about 6 to 8 months before we went live. And by the time we went live, there was a drastic difference in the image level. So you might want to take another refresh of the image at that time to make sure that you are going in with the new image, so that as soon as you go live, there is no need for you to upgrade the XSCS image and other versions and everything else. So that is kind of a takeaway that we learned the hard way, because we did not do that, and we dealt with the upgrades after the migration. So that's something I would do if I were to do this all over again.
Effective DR and business continuity with lowest RTO and RPO was very important for Meritor. And you were able to successfully achieve DR solution with OCI as part of the migration to cloud. What was your strategy and approach?
So with respect to disaster recovery and business continuity, let's talk about the backups first, because they are the prime element of the business continuity. And what we found out that there are tools in Oracle and even in other cloud environments to do your backups that are native tools to the environment where you can do the backup. But when you're looking at managing these at a high number of servers and on a daily basis with different retentions, you have dailies, weeklies, night, and then monthlies and the yearlies, and then you have incrementals and full backups, and then you have a duplicate copy of those and things like that. And that makes it very, very difficult to maintain and to administer that. So I felt a need for a tool, a third-party tool that would do this. And we, with the help of SuneraTech, they helped us a lot in identifying the right tools. We have chosen Commvault as a tool to do the backups for us, which was certified in Oracle, because we were going in, there were limited number of tools available for Oracle that would support an Oracle environment. So that kind of helped us making our backups very easy and very simple, like you would do in your environment. As far as the disaster recovery goes, again, the native capabilities of OCI were just from the database level perspective. You could do a replication of the data using the data guard. And for the file system, they were recommending to use rsync. And I personally did not find those methods to be sustainable in the long run. You cannot put them in autopilot and work. Somebody needs to monitor and tweak and work through those on a regular basis. So we had again chosen a tool to do this. And we are using a tool to do the disaster recovery also at the very high level, and that also helps us in doing a disaster recovery for our co-location area also. And what we have done is we have chosen a secondary data center in OCI, where we are replicating these environments live. And when there is a disaster recovery requirement, we just bring them up to the live and then we use them. So that's what we're doing with that. It's very important to design all this when you're going live. And for us, we divided our migration into waves. And with each wave, as we went live, we had tested the disaster recovery for those applications to make sure that they worked. And then we go from there.
Anil, I understand that application and infrastructure security capabilities is a very important for Meritor, and audit committees invest a lot of hours focusing entirely on cybersecurity. SuneraTech, being the cloud and enterprise security partner of Meritor, is defining the detailed security roadmap and implementing the security solutions to elevate the maturity. What is your take on cybersecurity, and what do you advise organizations do as part of the cloud strategy?
It's a very good question. And we did, in fact, strengthen our security posture greatly during this migration. And that was our vision. And we accomplished that. The one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the best security implementation or the best security structure or your most improvement in your security posture can come during your planning phase and your designing phase. And then when you start to implement using all the factors that you built in, it is very, very difficult operationally and functionally to implement security measures after you go live, because it makes it so much difficult, because once the production is going on, it is interruptive, and sometimes you require a lot of testing. It takes a lot of time to do that. It's much easier to do it all in the beginning. So whatever you have in your wish list in terms of accomplishing security, like zoning, firewalls, IDS, IPS, whatever antivirus you want to put, if you want to put the systems that monitor the behavioral antivirus, all that stuff, it is much better to put it in the beginning. Also, if you want to use any cloud access security brokers, any CASBs, you want to use any SIM, or any of these arrangements, if you want to use DLP, all these things, whatever you're thinking of putting it in your security portfolio, it is a good idea to plan for all of that and start implementing those while you're doing the migration, so that everything gets kind of tied out in the testing and you're able to do that properly. Doing it later on makes it 10 times more difficult and more expensive and more time consuming. So it's a good idea to start from where you are. Also, it helps a lot to not be very over ambitious, because as you know, the basic premise of security is to keep the environment very secure, which is opposite to the basic premise of operations, where you want to keep the environment operationally functional for the people to use that. So you should not go overboard, use the right maturity metrics. And we did a lot of research in terms of Gartner, and SuneraTech also helped us in trying to find out the right balance between where we should be in terms of the security. And once you find that out, then you translate that into what tools and what capabilities you need, and then you start implementing those, and then you go from there. I have seen many of my colleagues get into the trap of implementing everything from the security perspective, and they get trapped into that, and you go nowhere from there. So it's a good idea um, to be balanced and to implement what you just need to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And there is always a cost benefit equation to this. So keep that in mind and then go from there.
Anil, kudos to you for this great success of migrating to Oracle Cloud Infra. Kudos to Meritor team and the SuneraTech team as well for this success. Having successfully completed the migration and going live within the time period as planned, you're able to retire your data center. Can you share some of the expected results as well as some unexpected results in performance, scalability, DR on demand, agility for innovation, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, we found SuneraTech team to be a great partner that works very well with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. They were probably one of the most knowledgeable vendor I have seen from the OCI knowledge perspective. They work very intimately with Oracle Cloud environment. They were very familiar with how to do things there. And they had very, very good level people in terms of expertise for the network, for the operations, for the server system administration, for storage, for backups, everything. So it was a great team from migration as well as from the operations perspective. And the second thing is the Oracle Cloud environment is also very stable. Earlier, we were a little worried, but when I went to some of the customer forums and talked to people, it gave me a little bit of comfort that yes, we can rely on the environment and go from there. So we did that. And once you put the right partner with the right arrangement and the right processes in place, it makes it much smoother for you to operate. And our business did not face any outages or any interruptions in terms of the migration and the operations later on. We have accomplished what we were doing earlier in terms of the backups. We're much more efficient in the backups now. We're doing the disaster recovery in a much better manner than we do earlier. Now we are moving towards the individual application DR. So our vision is to, in probably next 1 year or so, we will be able to run the application seamlessly from one data center or from the other and move them around and therefore make DR a non-issue. And to do that, we require some fundamental infrastructure in the groundwork that a lot of that we built during the migration. So that's one thing. The biggest benefit that business sees is number one, a drastic reduction in our cost. Number two is a drastic improvement in the agility. Just to give you an idea, it used to take us somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks to get a VM created in the earlier environment for the application owners to be able to test something or maybe do a proof of concept. And now it takes 24 to 48 hours to do that. And it takes 24 to 48 hours, not because cloud takes that much time to do. It is because of our processes. We need to validate what do they need, why do they need. And then we need to make sure they're right sizing everything. We need to make sure there is right accountability. There's a management support to do that. And that process takes us a little bit of time to do that. One more thing that we have done differently than many companies do, and I think it's a good thing to do what we have done, is that we have not allowed our end user customers to create the images in the cloud. We have centralized it through a stream of requests, so that way we can keep the accountability. So I have my team that actually receives all the requests, and then they facilitate the resource creation in the cloud. And that helps us in two ways. Number one is it prevents the cloud sprawl. And the second thing it does is it controls the cost, because we place the accountability to the people and then we charge them back in terms of what they're asking us to do. So from that way, we have put a very tight control on the growth on the cloud and in the cloud environment. But it did enable the business to get the systems within 24 to 48 hours. And that helps them a lot. And the other thing which is different in the cloud environment, obviously from the other one, is pay-per-use. So if we don't need anything, we can just stop it or decommission it, and you don't get charged for that, which we did not have in the brick and mortar data center. Even if you didn't need, you pay for the hardware. So those are some of the main differences they have seen. They have also seen a drastic improvement in the performance, somewhere between 20 to 30% improvement in the performance, and that is always welcome. So it's benefits all around. And as I said, SuneraTech partnered all along, and they're helping us to support. And we're very happy with the support and the way things are going.
Anil, what are some of your future initiatives building on top of the cloud infra success and leveraging the cloud investments?
So as we go forward, what we are seeing is that there are a lot of cloud providers emerging out. Now we have Google Cloud, there's Microsoft Azure, which is there for a long time. We have AWS, we have OCI, and then there are other cloud providers that are coming into play as well. And they all have different areas of expertise. So some clouds are good in serving you from the business intelligence perspective. Some clouds are good in serving you from the IoT perspective. Some clouds like Microsoft Office 365 is good for giving you the Office 365 capabilities. Some clouds are good for giving you a more reliable, robust environment. And then you have some clouds like Oracle that run proprietary applications and the software that allows you to use their product in their cloud very well. So the point I'm making here is there is no single cloud that you can settle down going down the road. You have to keep yourself open to be able to move to multiple clouds. And if you let business figure this out, the environment will be very scattered and it will be insecure and will create a lot of what I call the technical debt so that you will have to deal with it later on by investing your time and resources to set it right. The best thing to do is to plan for it and create the environment, and that's what we're doing now. We are extending our environment to the other clouds. And one of the things that we did during this is that, as I was saying, that we went to the Equinix Cloud Exchange in this process and while we migrated to Oracle. So we have terminated our MPLS circuits into the Equinix Cloud Exchange in the Equinix location. And from there, we can tap into any of these cloud providers. It's a 10-minute job for us now to get connected to AWS or to Azure or to Oracle or to Google Cloud from our MPLS through this Equinix Cloud Exchange. And that helps us to connect all these clouds in seamless way and to extend our environment into these areas. Um, as we know that smart factory and IoT is coming, there is a lot of requirement for the edge computing. There is a lot of requirement for the extension of the cloud resources to our sites, and different clouds provide different needs or fulfill different needs for this purpose. What we are doing is we are trying to connect all of these cloud environments together and create a secure extension of our environment so that for the business, it's a seamless process. They don't have to worry about are they going in Google or in AWS or Azure or OCI. All they need is this function which is available in this particular cloud and they can have it as soon as they want. And that's what we're working towards, enabling the business to do that.
Anil, thank you for joining us and sharing the insights with us. Your answers and comments are really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini. This is a great event. I think events like this keep the people in the IT environment connected. And it also allows them some time to look into what other people are doing and learn from what is going on around you. So I find these events very, very useful and very productive. And thank you again for inviting me to this. And I would like to thank you, SuneraTech team, for providing a great support and great service, not only in migration, but also after the migration. Thank you.